Cable Moore case study for quantitative analysis for business decisions, University of Northwestern St. Paul. The group is Ann Harless, Matthew Ryan, and Caleb Surma. Cable Moore is a provider of television, telephone, and internet services. They are anticipating a huge increase in sales revenue when they expand into several new markets. Cable & Moore management know from previous experience the importance of customer service when expanding into new markets. Management is adamant that there must be sufficient staffing in the customer service area to support calls from new and potential consumers. Think about it. When they have new consumers and new customers, they really want to know that they're in good hands when they're signing up for a new company and new internet services. They want to make sure that all their questions are answered promptly, accurately, and friendly. It'll also keep the retention rate hopefully higher than normal. Consumer, that is. Now let's talk about the projected number of customer service phone calls per month. So if you see in the bottom corner here, we're basically talking about the customer service demand in hours per month. So if you look at April, we need 21,600 hours. In August, we need 29,700 hours. So management has projected the anticipated number of phone calls to customer service and have translated the projection into total number of customer service hours needed each month. Now let's talk about the staffing situation. Training of new employees will be essential to meet the new customer service demand. It takes 1 month to train a new employee. During training, each new employee is assigned an existing employee for the entire month. The existing employee's product work hours drop from 160 hours a month to 80 hours a month. However, the existing employee is still paid their normal full-time wages. Some of the facts: that 150 full-time trained employees will start at the beginning of April. Full-time employees are paid $3,000 a month. It's not a bad gig. Training employees are paid $2,000 a month during the month that they're training. After the month of training, the trainees become a full-time employee, and then their wages bump up from $2,000 a month to $3,000 a month. On average, the company loses about 5% of the trained customer service representatives per month through attrition. Full-time employees work 160 hours per month, and when the full-time employees are working, they're also assisting with training, which loses about 80 hours of productivity a month. Now let's talk about some of the decision variables. So if you can see, there's kind of a format here that says F is representative as our full-time employees from April through August, and I are going by numbers. For T is our training employees, April through August, and D represents our demand in hours, and P is our product hours. The main objective here is pretty much to minimize total employee monthly costs. You can see our $3,000 costs for our full-time employees equation and our $2,000 per month for our trainees. So here's our employee computations that we computed. Full-time employees at the beginning of each month equal the prior month's full-time less 5% attrition plus the prior month's trainees. Now you can see the equations. Productive hours. Full-time employees work 160 hours per month. However, full-time employees assisting with training lose 80 hours a month of productivity per month. And you can kind of see our equations here. The number determined by May's demand stated in people, full-time employees needed in May is D2 divided by 160. And to find the number of people to train in April, for May's work, we changed the above equation into known calculations. We have defined April full-time employees, therefore we will substitute into this type of equation. F1 times 0.95 plus D1 equals D2 divided by 160 hours. And to solve for D1, it's D2 divided by 160 hours minus F1 times 0.95. Because that's because of the 5% attrition rate minus 100%. Training equation is TI equals DY divided by 160 minus 0.95%. And here's a chart of kind of our training calculations from April through July. And as you can see, please note that there's no August training calculated since we don't have the data for September's forecast. It's unknown. Now I'm going to talk about some of the discussion questions we had from our case study. And it really got us thinking and really expanded our brains a little bit. Develop a schedule for hiring new employees. What is the total cost of this schedule? Discuss any limitations that exist for this solution. How would the schedule change if the iteration rate could be lowered to 3% per month instead of 5%? What would be the impact of costs? So that's something really to think about when you're a business manager and understand how you can lower that iteration rate when you hire new employees. We will discuss later some of the benefits. So here you can kind of see the schedule that we created for our hiring new employees. And if you kind of look here, it looks like everything aligns up for our hours needed versus the actual hours. But in April, we actually have a slack. Hours needed are 21,600, but the actual hours we get is 22,258. So with this iteration rate of 5%, we have a slack of 658 hours per month from our new hiring our new employees. It's a lot of free time employees, and they can really be utilized in other ways to really grow the company. We'll discuss that later in future slides. As you can see here, here's kind of our Excel computation, 5% iteration rate. And to the right here, we have demand by month, which goes from April is 21,600 to May, 24,600, all the way down to August at 29,700. Now here is our chart for 3% iteration rate. As you can see in the right, the demand for the current month is 21,600 in April and 29,700 in August. And here's our equation. So if we look at the alternate option of calculating 3% iteration rate, which we're really aiming for, you really see the benefits. So again, we have slack in April, but this time we have 1,000 hours and 1,030 hours of slack. What can you really possibly do with those extra hours to really advance your company? We will talk about that later. But if you see in April, hours needed are 21,600, which we discussed earlier, but the actual hours we get is 22,630, giving us a slack of 1,030 hours in April. Now let's put this in the business perspective. It's really important to understand training costs such as orientation, classroom training, certification, on-the-job training, uniforms, and informative literature. Some of the costs incur as a new employee learns his or her job, including reduced quality, some of the errors and wastes and mistakes. So if you think about it, you really want to learn from your mistakes. That's one of the best ways and best tools to learn. But again, it takes time to actually do the act and do the task, and then learning from that mistake when corrected. It's very important that you understand when you do make a mistake, but again, it's important to understand the business angle that it's the time equals money, and when we're learning and spending more time, we're losing productivity from our employees. Also, it's very essential that our HR professionals in the work field really identify some of these results and really track what's going on when they're hiring new employees and look at the rotation rate, because this will help influence future business decisions. I'm going to discuss some information from our business analytics from doing this case study. After applying linear programming business analytics, we discovered with an iteration rate of 5%, Cable Moore's total schedule cost is $2,716,821 versus an iteration of 3% with a cost of $2,676,156. This results in a cost impact of $40,664. Some of the outside factors to consider when making hiring decisions our paid benefits, the taxes, the employment taxes, and where you're hiring, what states you're in, what laws and rules and regulations you fall under. Also, some recruiting expenses when you're marketing to new employees and how to attract them to come to Cable and More. Also, think about the cost for training spaces. You got to rent out rooms and offices. And there's other equipment to really understand business equipment you need for new hires. Maybe it's pamphlets, there's training materials. It's really a lot of things to consider when you're expanding into new markets and going to hire a plethora of employees. Now let's talk about some of our findings and what we really recommend Cable and More does with our quantitative analysis we conducted. Well, with our analysis, we discovered there's slack in April for both attrition rates of 3 and 5%, which would free up employee hours. Cable and More should seize this opportunity and have employees market to potential consumers and customers with personal service calls, broadcasting an extended market service. Also, to represent and market the brand of Cable and More with additional slack hours, the employees can do volunteer work such as in school programs, assist with food shelves, and really help out and lend a hand in the community. We believe this will gain a competitive advantage by fully utilizing our employee hours to help benefit the business. And here's our reference page of where we found some of this outside information and outside data. Thank you, and I hope you have a better understanding when hiring new employees and expanding your marketplace for a company. It's really a good idea to do some business analytic approach and really understand what you're looking into before you make big business decisions. Thank you.